Hello, my name is Paris Woods, and welcome to my show, Into the Woods. This week, I will be hosting a series of interviews from our city, Wolverine, Alaska. Today, I will be starting with candidates from the Director of Public Services and Director of Parks and Recreations. When we come back, I hope you join me as I interview our first candidate. Hello, and welcome back to Into the Woods. Please join me as I welcome my first candidate, the Democratic candidate for Director of Public Services, Kendall Richardson. Hi, Kendall. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for having me, Ms. Woods.
So, I know that you are the incumbent in this position, so how does it feel running again?
I feel pretty good. I feel like I have a lot more experience than the other runners, and I know how to deal with situations that come up, and I've been through those before, so I feel like it'll be easier this time if they do come again.
So would you say you're more comfortable in campaigning what you believe in this season rather than the first time you've done this?
Yes, I've learned a lot, how to deal with situations, what to tell people to do, how to research what to do. I've been through all those, so I feel very comfortable with them.
That's really good. So tell me a little bit more about how you got here. What made you want to get into the government area?
Well, actually, it started, before I came into this kind of job thing. Okay, anyways. So, first I actually had an interest in biology, and I had a major in that. And one time, actually, it kind of began by a story. I have two children, and so we always like to go walking around parks. They've always have loved nature. And so one day we were walking, and my little daughter, Chloe, she said to me, "Why would people litter?" Because there was litter strewn all over the park, and she was saying, "What kind of people would do this? Why would they want to hurt the environment?" And I realized right then that, wow, I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, people, they just don't care. This is going to wreck it, and the environment is not something that can come back easily once it's been destroyed. It's going to take many years. And so that's what kind of inspired me to come into this field and to try and help the environment in the best way that I can.
That's really special. I like how you had a personal story that kind of helps with a more general thing. Tell me a little bit more about your family. You're talking about your daughter, Chloe. Chloe,
Yes.
Is that her name? Does your kids play a big impact, like as you run for
Yes,
this position?
I believe they do, because they've always loved nature, as I was saying, and they want to see change just as much as I do. And I kind of feel like not only am I doing this for the environment, but I'm doing it for my kids, because they want somebody to look up to. And since I'm divorced, it's hard for them to see a figure in their life that makes a change and does something good for the environment and them. So.
You say that you have more than one
Yes,
kid?
I have two children.
You do? A boy? Girl?
Yes.
Yeah? Girl?
Boy and girl.
Boy,
Yes.
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine. If you were to be reelected into this position, what would you like to see happen or would like to continue in your next term?
Well, my plans are, for the past two times that I've ran, the first time I helped with greenhouses. As you know, in Canada, there are 6 months in which the sun is fully shining, and then that can kind of boost up how many vegetables and fruits you can grow. So I help with greenhouses, I help with parks and making sure they are clean and updated, and I would continue to do that for the next one.
Yeah, I'm allergic to basically all of nature, so I don't get to experience it as much as I would like to, but when I get to go out there and try to experience it a lot, so I'm really glad that you have such a heart for that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
So tell me about your education. I know you graduated college, of course, but what else have you done education-wise?
Well, education-wise, besides a master's in biology, I went back to study government, especially smaller government, I guess. I spent a couple of years there, and then eventually I decided to try and run. The first time I didn't make it around, but that only inspired me to try again. And then at the next running time, I was elected, and I was, of course, very excited. And then on and on. So I wouldn't say I have much education, I guess, but I've had a lot of experience, so I feel like that would make up for it.
How do you feel about living in Wolverine, Alaska? What's it like?
I feel really great about it. I mean, the environment, all the nature, it's just so beautiful. I mean, you go to other places and it's just run down and there's not many plants or trees or flowers. And here you can see waterfalls and the sea and pretty much everything. I mean, there's not something here that isn't anywhere else.
By liking nature so much, has being involved in government ever taken away from your social life or being with your kids or anything?
I think it does slightly, but not that much. Most people would say yes, it's crazy. You don't have time for anything. You got to spend your time in all your work. It's your life basically. But I feel like I can still connect with my kids and I still have a social life.
Well, Kendall, is there anything you would like to tell the voters about yourself? Anything that I may or may not have asked you?
Yes, if you vote for me, I will make sure that the environment is much more cleaner than it is now because there is work to be done and I believe in a richer environment. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kendall. It's been a pleasure meeting with you today and I can't wait to see more of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ms. Woods.
When we come back, I'll be interviewing our next candidate. Hello and welcome back to Into the Woods. Please join me as I welcome the Democratic candidate for Parks and Recreation, Ms. Son. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's nice to meet you too, Miss Woods.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I worked at the National Park of Wolverine, Alaska when I was still in high school, and I fell in love with the people there and just working with other people and like developing our national park and making our city a better place.
Was education a big part in kind of wanting to go into parks and recreation, or was it just more of an interest that you pursued?
Well, when I started out at the national park, I just wanted to like get a feel for it. But eventually, it made me want to become a politician, and I went to Columbia in New York City and got a political science degree and a public relations degree.
So you said you traveled to New York.
Yeah.
Would you say you're well-traveled?
Well, I've been a couple places, but my favorite place is, of course, Wolverine, Alaska, and then
Obviously,
New York. New York is a good second.
What is the actual purpose of Parks and Recreation Director? What do you do?
Well, Parks and Recreation Director, we are in charge of like the stadium for like our ice hockey team and our Olympic development program, and our of course national park. So we're just in charge of like improving those places and maintaining them.
Right. What about family? Are you married or anything?
Yeah, I'm married. My husband is Cade, and I met him in New York when I was in college.
Right. Any kids?
I have one son. His name is Travis.
That's good. Has he played a big role in you wanting to go into Parks and Recreation, or?
Well, yeah, he has, because I mean, he's going to grow up in this environment too, and I want him to have the best possible environment he can have, and I just want to improve it as much as I can.
Right. He probably really appreciates that.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. How comfortable are you running for this position? I know you said you've been interested in it, you have a degree in it, but campaigning for yourself, how comfortable do you feel with that?
Well, I think I'm pretty comfortable with it. I've been paying attention like a lot to the past races, and actually after college when I came back to Wolverine, I worked under the other candidate who's running again, and so I just paid attention to like what she did, and like I feel like I can improve on what she's done and just better our city.
That's really good. How did you decide that you were going to run specifically for this position?
Well, like I said, like working at the park, it just developed like a sense of like need to establish a better environment and programs in our society.
Did you ever, like when you were growing up, did you ever think to yourself that this is not the place where I want to live and I want to fix it, that kind of stuff?
Well, when I was 10 years old, my dad's in the military, so we moved to New York, which is why I wanted to go back there for college. And I guess at times when I was there, I felt like New York was the place for me. But eventually, when we moved back, I realized Wolverine was the perfect place for me.
Is it because it's more open and more filled with nature than New York City?
Yeah, because I have an interest in like hiking and kayaking
Right.
and all that outdoor stuff, and so I feel like I can better do those things in Wolverine.
New York really isn't the place for that kind of stuff. I've traveled there a couple of times and not really many hiking places. Why parks? Why not anything like landscapes or anything? Why parks?
Well, I feel like our parks are something we really need to protect because, I mean, of course, everywhere on Earth there's something beautiful about it, but I feel like you can get a better sense of that at our national parks, and that's why I want to protect them.
Right. I really appreciate that because sometimes you can just go out and don't really appreciate what's in front of you, but when someone takes the time to go and develop it, it makes you see like, wow, somebody puts effort into it. I should appreciate it. So I really appreciate that. Is there anything you would like to tell our voters about yourself? Anything about your personality that they might want to know?
Well, I just feel that I'd be really good at handling this position because I love talking to people and I always have a positive outlook on their like wants and needs.
Right. Well, it was a pleasure meeting with you today. Thank you for coming to Into the Woods, and I'm excited to see more of you through this entire process.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. It was a pleasure to meet you.
You too. Join me as I welcome the next candidate for Director of Parks and Recreation. Hello again. My name is Paris Woods, and I'm your host, Into the Woods. Today, we will be continuing our interviews from the candidates of Wolverine, Alaska. As you may recall from Tuesday night, I kicked off this special broadcast with 2 positions available in Wolverine. When we return, I will be interviewing 12 candidates running for their respective positions. Hello, please join me in welcoming my first candidate, Miss Lauren Ivy. Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure meeting you. So, how did you become involved in the government world?
Well, for the past 5 years, I've been Director of Special Education for Wolverine, Alaska. So I've been in charge of managing the special education programs at all the schools. And so this year I decided I wanted to become more involved with all of the school programs. And so that's why I'm running as superintendent.
You said you worked with special education.
Yes.
Why did you choose to go in that sort of direction?
Well, my mother is an occupational therapist, and so that is helping people with disabilities figure out how to live their daily lives with their disability.
Right.
And so I've grown up surrounded by that, and also my younger brother was born with a disability, so it's been in my family.
I see. So your experience in having that kind of lifestyle.
Yes.
Right. Speaking more about your family, tell me a little bit more about them.
Well, my husband, Spencer, has been really supportive of me, and I have 2 kids, Selena and Oliver, and they are both teenagers. And luckily, we haven't set into the teenage phase where they hate me, so that's good.
That's the worst. I know exactly what that's like. Okay, why do you think you are a good fit for this position?
Well, I have some experience since I've been running the Director of Special Education for the past couple of years, so I do know what it is like trying to manage all the different school programs and interact with everyone. And so I think I'd be a good fit being able to manage all the different schools and doing that balancing act.
With participating in these different special education things, what do you feel is a necessary quality to be involved in that kind of situation?
I feel like kindness and understanding,
Right.
Because you don't want to alienate them by being too kind and being like, you have a disability and I'm going to be awkward around you.
Right.
So you definitely need to be involved with them and just kind of get used to it because they're just like any other person.
Do you believe that personality trait you have about yourself will help you while running for office?
I think so, because I know when running a school district, you need to
interact with a lot of different people, the parents, the teachers, the faculty, the students, and so you have to be understanding of where all of these different people are coming from
Right.
and their perspective.
Right. Talking a little bit more about the schools in general, I know you're running for the superintendent of schools. Has the school system in Wolverine County always interested you?
I feel like it has. I've grown up in Wolverine, and so I went through the school system. And so I remember as a student being frustrated by some of the things in the schools.
Right.
And after going to University of Oregon for my master's degree, I came back with some really good ideas for how to help improve the school systems.
I can appreciate that. Staying in one area sometimes gets a little, so change is always good.
Yes.
Going to help. Why did you decide to go to Oregon?
Well, I had gotten my bachelor's in Alaska, and so I've lived there all my life, and I hadn't really gone on many family trips, and so I decided I really wanted to go somewhere else and just kind of like see more of the world. So I decided Oregon.
I understand that. Is there anything else you would like to tell me or the voters about yourself?
I think I would be a really good fit for the superintendent of schools position because helping the schools is very important to me, and as a parent, I understand that sometimes change can be frustrating, especially with people in the schools, like children, but I have that perspective and I can help.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure meeting you, Miss Ivy.
Thank you so much for having me, Ms. Woods.
When we return, I will be interviewing our next candidate running for superintendent of schools. Good evening. My name is Paris Woods, and I am your host of Into the Woods. Throughout this week, I have been interviewing candidates from Wolverine, Alaska. It has been a long process, but tonight marks the end of this special broadcast. When we return, I will be interviewing the final 6 candidates from Wolverine. Hello, please join me as I welcome my first interviewee, the Democratic candidate for Police Chief, Mr. Mike Wallace. Hi, how are you?
How you doing, Paris?
Good, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
This is your first year running for this position. How do you think campaigning will be?
It's been tough so far, but I'm moving along in the process.
What's been your favorite part about this whole process?
Just trying to see how change can be better for me and how I can make a change with the people.
What was your inspiration for deciding to run for office?
Well, my dad was police chief a couple terms ago, way before, and being homeschooled, I had a lot of opportunities to go with him to work and see how he did his job, and it was just a lot of fun. So.
Well, you're talking about your father a lot, so why don't you tell me some more about your family?
Well, I'm engaged currently. I met my I'm engaged right now, and I met my spouse, I guess, at NYU. Her name is Lily, and she also grew up in Wolverine, but she also moved there. We went to the same high school, and we met at NYU, and we both decided to come back here so I could run and she could be with her family more so.
So you left Wolverine to go to college?
Yes.
Why did you decide to leave?
Well, I knew I had to get a degree in order to become higher up in my field of being police chief, so that's what I had to do.
What did you get a degree in?
Master's degree in law.
Why did you choose to get a degree in law and also go into the police force?
So you can understand where maybe convicts are coming from, because sometimes they can be convicted and not necessarily do anything wrong, so I have my own perspective and see if they did anything right.
Right. If you were to be elected into office, what is your goal that you would like to see accomplished?
Well, I know right now there's still a lot of cocaine on the streets, and that's bad, and I can understand that being so because that's kind of hard to control. But people shouldn't be officers in the station shouldn't be beaten up, and they shouldn't be abused when they get home, and the guards need to be more well trained.
Do you have any personal experiences, not necessarily with drugs, but being around that kind of environment?
Yes, my dad was police chief for 15, 20
Right.
years, so I had a lot of experience just watching him and following his footsteps.
How do you feel about running against the incumbent?
Well, I feel like my chances are pretty good. She's done a great job thus far, but I just feel like change is needed.
What kind of change are you talking about?
Well, like I said, trying to get the cocaine off the street. I mean, I know there's still going to be some, but
Right.
it shouldn't be not as much. And trying to get better training for the guards, because police shouldn't have to come home and beat up, and that's not their job. Their job is to keep people in jail,
Right.
not to come and protect themselves from convicts.
I can appreciate you wanting to help the community in more of an internal way, I guess you could say. Is there anything else you would like to tell the voters that are watching?
Yes, a vote for Mike Wallace is a vote for change.
It was a pleasure being with you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
When we return, I will be introducing our next candidate for police chief. Hello, and welcome back to Into the Woods. Please join me as I welcome my first Democratic candidate running for mayor, Miss Sarah Morgan. Hi, how are you?
So great to see you again, Miss
So
Lewis.
great to see you again. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
How much knowledge is actually required to be a mayor?
Well, to be a mayor, you need to have a general knowledge of all the different candidates that are running for different positions, because you're kind of in charge of all of that. And you just need to know what your job is and know how to do it.
Being the incumbent, you've already been around this kind of field for a term. How tough is it?
It's a lot of work. You have to put a lot of time in, but
Mhm.
it's so rewarding because you get to see the benefits and what the changes that
Right.
your job has resulted in.
In your opinion, is your approach to problems and problem solving different than what a man might consider to do in that same type of situation?
I think it's a little different because it's just a different perspective from man to woman, but also you're all just people, so you're just trying to get to the same common goal.
True. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Wolverine?
I did not. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and the reason I'm here in Wolverine was because every summer I would go to Wolverine to visit my aunt,
Mhm.
and we would stay with her for the whole summer, and I just fell in love with it, all the wilderness and nature, and I wanted to have a hand in helping make it be successful.
What is the most effective change you think you have accomplished in your term?
Well, I think my main goal when I ran last time was just to get that community involvement and really work that into politics. And I think I've accomplished that somewhat, but since I'm rerunning now, I really want to keep that going.
Would you say there was a lack in community involvement?
Well, I think politics can sometimes be sort of distant because you have the politicians up here and then everyone else down here.
Right.
And so just getting that personal relationship with the people you're working with is really important.
Why have you decided to run again?
I want to run again for my family, to provide a stable life for them. I also run again because I want to make a difference in this community. I feel like it's my job. Like I was put here on this earth to help people, and this is one way that I feel that I can do it.
Speaking more towards your family, tell me some more about them.
So I've been married to my husband Matt for 9 years, and we adopted our daughter Sophia, and it was a rough adoption, but it's running smoothly now.
Where is she from?
Well, my older sister, died of a drug overdose 4 years ago, and this was her daughter, Sophia. She was just 3 months old at the time, and we felt, me and my husband, that we wanted her to have a good life, and we were the only family available, and it really spoke to us, so we decided to adopt her.
Well, I'm sure your sister is very grateful for you to do something like that. Is your family, have they influenced you in any other way in running for mayor or becoming a mayor?
Well, they really have. Being around my family, I see how much love they have, and I want to share that with the community. I want to share that happiness and that beautifulness with everybody.
Just like they are your motivation, would you say they're kind of like your inspiration too?
They really are.
So, you went to college outside of Wolverine?
I
right?
did, yes.
No.
Okay. I went to University of Colorado in Denver,
Mhm.
and for my bachelor's degree in public speaking and communications. And then after that, I wanted to further my education, so I went to Stanford University in California and master in international relations.
So when did you decide to move back?
Well, after college, I wanted to go back to my roots where I was from, where I felt Wolverine was my home, and so I wanted to go back.
Is there anything you would like to tell the voters that may be watching about yourself that I haven't asked you?
If you vote for me, I will work towards my best and work my best to establish great community bonds in Wolverine, Alaska.
Well, thank you for being here again, Miss Morgan. It's been a pleasure seeing you again.
You too. Thank you, Miss Woods.
Thank you. When we return, I will be interviewing the next candidate for the mayor. This concludes our special broadcast from Into the Woods. I would like to personally thank all of the candidates I interviewed over the past week. Please join me next week as I continue my regular premiere of Into the Woods.